Hi my stars, thank you for being back. I want to show you in this opportunity a different look where we're gonna emphasize our features for stage. I hope you like it. Let's get to it. So thank you for being back. Of course, we're gonna start with a clean face, and again I'm gonna use surgical tape in my eyes to help me guide the work. And see, where I'm putting it is a little bit lower than the other video, and it is because we want to make the eyes appear larger, so we want to also work on the lower lid, which is under your lower lash line right there. So let's take our eyeshadow base, and with a flat brush for creams, remember, we're gonna apply it all over the lid. Now make sure you cover all of that extra space, and I would suggest you to use a white eyeshadow base because I'm gonna use colors and I want them to pop to make them more intense. And the best way to do that is using white as your base. Then after you apply it, just blend it with your bare fingers, and I'm gonna use a beauty sponge to smooth everything out and remove the excess. Now I wanted to bring you another colorful look, this time using blue and gold. I think it's a beautiful combo, and this particular pigment is very pretty. It's one of the oldest editions of Makeup Geek, and I still keep it. It's very beautiful and rich, and I cannot advise you enough to buy pigments. They are one of the best investments for artists, because they go a super long way, not to mention the intensity they bring. So remember to remove any crease, and with a flat fluffy brush for eyeshadow, you can see I'm applying that pigment in between my mid to inner portion of the lid. Now I'm gonna spray the brush lightly with a little bit of Fix Plus. You can use any setting spray that you own. This is totally optional, it's just to make it more shiny, but it is already a good quality pigment, so you don't actually need to use a setting spray. Now I'm going to use a lighter pigment for the inner portion of the lid, and I'm using a lighter gold pigment. In this case, it's gonna be useful for you for two things: to highlight and also to blend that edge that you left from the other pigment. And now we're gonna start working with the blues. We're gonna take those two shadows that I am pointing. One is texturized, that one that I'm putting right there is going to be useful for you to create a transition between that texture pigment that we use, that golden pigment, into the darker blue that's going to go on the outer edge. And remember guys, we need to dab the product in first to set that cream base, and then we can move around the brush. But first we dab, just like that. We set the cream with the powder, and then we can blend and do swiping motions. With this, we also ensure that the product that we're applying is at its best intensity. Now let's take a light shade of blue, also shimmer, to help blend even better that gold into the first mid-tone blue that we used. So this step is important to make a beautiful transition. Now let me show you another trick. To blend those two together, you're gonna take that brush in a vertical position and just work the darker color into the mid-tone color, and that's all you need to do to create a beautiful transition. Now that's a base only. Let's work that crease a little bit. We're gonna take again that dark tone blue, and I'm gonna use a detail blending brush. Remember, blending brushes are always rounder in shape, and I'm gonna use it to elevate my crease right at that point to make my eyes appear bigger and larger. And I'm also creating a little effect of a cut crease without applying that whole tedious technique of a cut crease. This way is easier and it doesn't require that high level of skills with makeup. So take your time and really use that detail brush to help define that crease. And then with a bigger blending brush, a fluffier one, we're gonna take a mid-tone blue. This time I'm using a matte one because I don't like very shimmery transitions in the crease. I prefer to work it with matte eyeshadows. And I'm just gonna work that edge very, very well. Take your times, don't get discouraged, just be patient. Blue is one of the hardest colors to blend, so just take your times, you guys. Use the right tools and apply all of these tricks that I am giving you, and I assure you that you will be able to do it yourself. Now we still want to work on the transition, so I'm gonna use again a blending brush, bigger blending brush, and I'm gonna use a light tone of blue. This time you can use shimmer, you can use texture, because it's gonna go on the higher point of your eyes, very close to the eyebrows. So basically we're working in the brow bone area. And then take your time also to retouch the work that you did previously, especially with the darker blue, because we don't want to lose that intensity and that depth. And let's also work on that fake inner corner that we are creating. I'm calling it fake because it's not in place. It is further away from your natural inner corner, but that is the whole purpose of this entire look. It's just to make your eyes appear larger. And sticking with the theme, the golden theme, I am using a golden base highlighter for that. Then here comes the more detailed work for this particular look, which is the liner. And definitely one of my favorite things to use for stage makeup is gel eyeliner. It has amazing lasting power, it is super intense, and it doesn't fall off even if you sweat. Of course, if you use it properly and set it very well. Now use it to create a little bit of a cat shape liner. We're gonna extend very, very well both end corners, the outer and the inner one. So as you saw me right there, I extended also my inner corner, and that is again to make your eyes appear larger. So we are extending both edges. And now I'm using a more detailed lining brush to perfect a little bit that inner corner. So use your upper lower lash line to extend, to guide yourself and extend that line, and then connect it with the lower lash line, but only up to the inner portion of your lower lash line, because we are leaving the bottom liner open. So make sure you don't cover the full lower lash line with black. Now take a black matte eyeshadow to set all the liner work that you just did. Set it very well, and then if you need to blend something to smudge it a little bit, to perfect it, then you can go ahead and do it. But first, set everything very well. And as you can see me doing, I am blending the outer portion of that liner, and that is to create, like I said, a little bit of a cat feel to it. So take your time, blend very well, and then remember to keep the shape of the eye very well defined. So make sure you pay attention to your shadow work and then add the same depth to the crease as well, because it's going to look incomplete if you just don't follow that curve. So you can go back, retouch the blue, and then keep working on that depth with a fluffy blending brush. Apply a little bit more black and just work it out very, very well. And then also don't forget to blend that inner corner into your lower lash line. Try to create a smooth transition for whatever color that you're going to use next. Then you can use a cotton tip applicator with a little bit of makeup remover to perfect everything and clean everything out if you need to. Then another tip I can give you, since blue is so hard to blend, you can take a clean blending brush. I'm going to show you in just a moment, and you're going to use it to work on the darkest transitions to make everything more seamless and make it look as if they fuse together. Now give your upper lashes a very, very good coat of mascara. Remember that with the mascara, we basically assure that our eyelashes are cleaned from any fallout from all the shadow work that we did. And then we also prep it to apply the falsies. Now you can take your tapes off, and then make sure please to clean any fallout that might have happened. I'm using a cloth just to prevent from using a cotton round because they're highly contaminant. So you can go ahead and use a primer of your preference, and then I go with foundation. Remember, I like to use a lighter tone foundation because I like to work on a light canvas and then make it darker. So apply a full coverage foundation, that's going to be key. And I use a brush with stippling motions to apply the foundation all over my face first. So I stipple and then I make buffing motions to blend everything together. So after you take your time with it and make sure you covered everything, since we are using a full coverage foundation, you don't actually need concealer. So I'm using a little bit of that same foundation with my fingers, and then I'm applying it as if it was concealer. Then take a beauty sponge and just smooth everything together. Remember, I like to use a damp beauty sponge right after, because I like the finish that it gives. I am retouching the highlighter, and then I am setting my face with translucent powder. I know I'm gonna look like Casper, but that's the idea. It is, after all, translucent powder. It doesn't supposed to have any color. You are gonna look lighter at first, but with the heat from your body, the products are gonna melt together and they're gonna look way more natural. Now we're gonna finally start working on the lower the lower lash line liner. Remember, we are creating a fake lower lash line, so we have to leave it open. We're gonna draw it first on one eye. We kind of measure it to where we want it to be. Take your time, just look back at the mirror. You actually see me doing that a lot. You have to look back at the mirror, make sure it is where you want it to be. Then take your detail liner and smooth everything out, make it more perfect. This tool will actually help you create a pure line, way more defined. Now you will see me squeeze my eyes a little bit here in this part of the video, and I'm making like a little frowning faces, and that is with the purpose of measuring the lines that I'm drawing. So make sure you take your time, look back at the mirror, squeeze your eyes, frown a little bit, and make sure that it follows your natural line. This way, even though it is a fake lash line, it's gonna help you look a little bit more natural. Then after you're happy with the shape, you're gonna fill in that gap with a highlighter color. In this case, I chose to use green. So again, I'm gonna take a green pigment. This pigment has texture. It is shimmery, so it's gonna help me highlight. So what I do is I take an eye drop and I use it as a mixing medium. So I make it become liquidy, and then I use it as if it was a regular liner. Then I'm gonna take a lighter tone of green, and I'm gonna use it to blend the edge. I don't want to leave that rough edge. Then I am smudging the lower lash line, and I'm gonna take some smudging brushes like the ones I'm showing you there, and I'm applying a darker green for that purpose. That is because I just wanted to use green on the lower lash line. Remember, you guys can use whatever color that you want, but I just wanted to create this look with this particular colors because I love the way they look together. So we are gonna smudge on that particular section that I worked, and then of course you extended throughout the line, but you are going to concentrate the color right there at the outer edge right there. So make sure you blend everything very well and you cover all of the line, but the most color and the most intensity is going to go there, very close to the outer edge. Remove the fallouts and then keep on working. You can deepen the line if you want with a little bit of brown to make it more warm, but that's up to you. Then I work on the other side and just keep looking back at the mirror, make sure that everything is in place and everything follows the same lines. Now you can take a bigger, clean blending brush and help everything blend together more seamlessly. And for this look, I wanted to emphasize the highlight points with a little bit of glitter. In this case, for this particular highlight point, I am using a pressed glitter, and I'm using it a little bit far away. See that I am applying it on the fake inner corner that I created so that it won't be dangerous for our eyes to use. Now for this highlighting point, I'm gonna use glitter glue, and you can actually use the glitter of your preference. I'm using a holographic one, and it has like different shapes and sizes, so it helps reflect the light better, and it gives a beautiful shine on stage. Like I said, it is a holographic one, and I'm using it right below that fake lower lash line that we created. Now I'm gonna take a pencil of the same color of my fake inner corner, and I'm gonna fill in that waterline. Then I'm applying falsies. I am choosing again fake eyelash that isn't super thick, so that it won't cover that shadow work that we did. When the eyelash is too thick, it just makes your eyes look very, very dark, and I don't actually want to cover that beautiful shadow work that we just did. I like to use my hands to apply the false lashes, but you guys can use tweezers if you need to. And remember to let the glue dry a little bit so that it becomes tacky and it's easier for you to stick it to your skin. Now the other star of any stage makeup is your eyebrows. So remember, we have to cover them very, very well and make them very apparent if we want to show any emotion. I always like to fill them in with a little bit of an ombre technique. So I'm basically gonna use shadow for eyebrows, and I'm gonna use the product dry for the first third of the eyebrow, the inner portion of it, because we don't want to make it too dark right there. And then I am going to use it wet, the same exact product but wet, so it is more intense. And then I'm going to define from the second third to the last third of the eyebrow, so basically a little bit before the arch and then into the tail. Take your time with this, and remember to extend very well your eyebrows and cover all of your eyeshadow work. And then to tie that work up, I'm gonna use an eyebrow gel to keep my little hairs in place. Although one of my eyebrows is a little bit of a rebel, that one in particular, the left one, but whatever. Now we're gonna clean our brow bone area, and I'm gonna use the same brush that I applied the eyeshadow base with, and I'm gonna use that remaining excess to clean that, and then that's gonna help me with the highlighting, because it's gonna act also as a base and it's gonna make the highlight pop. So I am gonna apply the highlight to set that cream product. That is a rebel brow right there. So I'm gonna set the product with a highlighter, and then I'm gonna make sure I blend everything together. So I go back with the blue again, as you can see me in just a moment. I apply the highlighter, and then I go back with the blue right there. Then I'm gonna take a shimmery eyeshadow, and I'm gonna highlight only the very high point of the eyebrow. That's right below the arch. Now, I find it really beautiful when you create a fake lash line to use also fake lashes for that fake lash line. So these ones are very simple. Actually, I thought they would look a little bit more apparent. They didn't, but at least I can show you the idea, the main idea. That way you help give it more definition. Okay, great. So let's work on the rest of the face now. I'm gonna start with contouring my face. And remember, I like to use that type of brushes because they help with definition. The bristles in this case are very packed together. They're very dense and they help you with the intensity of the product. The shadow work will be more sharp, and overall the contour work will be more defined. My advice would be to only focus on the main contour points of your face. So cheekbone, jawline, and temple. In my case, to make my forehead appear smaller, I also run it through the hairline. And of course your nose, because with this look we don't want to change our natural features, we only want to enhance them. So just focus on those main areas. Now you're gonna see me work on my bronzer very vigorously, and the point is to create a transition between your contour and the blush work that we are about to do, blush and also highlighter. So make sure you blend everything very well, take your time to create that beautiful transition, because after all, although we created very sharp lines and very defined contouring work, we still want to make it look beautiful and as natural as we possibly can. Good, so let's finish that transition work with blushing now. So I'm gonna use first a cream blush to create a base. And remember, we already applied powders, so don't drag your brush around because you're gonna move your foundation. So see it as if you are applying a base to your blush. So only use stippling motions to create that base and work your transitions smoothly up to the highlighter. Now let's go for the dry product, the powder. I wanted to apply a pinky blush. Be careful with that one because it's very intense, so apply it with a light hand first and just build it up. To give it a little bit of warmth to your face, cover your nose, forehead and chin. And then the second product that I'm using is only to give it dimension because it has texture. It is a little bit shimmery, and that will help you to bring your cheeks forward. And now to finish your cheekbone area, we are gonna work on the highlighter. We are doing the same thing that I did with the blush. I am using a cream highlighter first with stippling motions to create a base so that the dry product adheres better and more beautifully to the skin. I really love that technique because it makes it look like 3D. it gives you that amazing dimension, and it also gives you the most intensity, not to mention the lasting power. And that is the final look. You can leave it as is if you want, but I am gonna show you also another way to highlight for stage makeup, which is using glitter. It's a perfect product to reflect light, and that way you will bring that feature even more forward and more apparent, and that is what we want. I love to do this because it gives you this magical finish, makes you look so ethereal, and will give your face this very beautiful lifted appearance. Now lastly, we're gonna move on to the lips. I'm gonna overline my lips as I usually do. Remember that I don't only overline them, but I also extend them at the edges to make it look a little bit bigger, because I don't have the biggest mouth. It's not only my lips, it's the actual mouth that it's smaller, so it tends to get lost. And yes, you were right, we are going with red. The color red is almost a must for stage makeup if you don't want your lips to go understated and to be completely erased from your face. So yes, always use red or a very red-based color. And just fill in your lips very carefully. I'm using a liquid lipstick because it gives you the most intensity of color and also the best lasting power for the purpose that we need it to. And then to perfect the edges, you go again with your foundation and just work on the finish. And then lastly, to keep with the theme, we're gonna use a goldeny bronzy gloss to give dimension to your lips. Keep it always towards the center, and then you can go back to the liquid lipstick and retouch the outer edges of your lips. Guys, this is the final look. I really like the techniques that I am sharing with you here. I really hope that you find it helpful, and then you can find it some use to your regular stage makeup routine. I really hope that you liked the video and the tips, my stars. Leave a comment if you feel like you need to, and take care, and I love you so much.